of my 1996 album. It's called Tales from a Strange Land, The Madman's Rant. You might have seen it on BET. Yeah? Well, it could be elections anywhere because politicians lie anywhere. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's Bob Dole or Bill Clinton or Marion Barry or anybody, Pandey, Manning, anybody. Same thing. Same difference anywhere you go. So this song was written 2 weeks before elections in Trinidad. And like I say, whether you're from America or Europe or Africa, you can identify with this song. It's called The Madman's Rant. I couldn't believe the bright boy, so I had to go to the lowest man in the society, the madman. That's the man who gave me some hope. We will set you free. Anywhere you turn, somebody chanting to we. Somebody promising jobs for all. Some renting gun to make other people ball. But somebody promising more police car. Somebody going to take the country far. Somebody putting all the bandits away. He said if they do the crime, they're going to damn well pay. But somebody promising a human rights, while somebody threatening to put out your lights. The more tree full with little Trinidad boys. A bullet start to whine and put an end to the joy. Now they're lying cold for their mama to mourn. The Nike gone, the gold teeth pawn. You see they want their pocket full with blue silk. They want the statue drinking full cream milk. The little red silk is not their true friend. The blue one have two extra note on the end. So a tag on the toe is now they take it to hell. But look where we real well. I hear a madman ball as he spread out on a wall. He said, this is it, this is it, this is it, I've been hit. But no time to give up, brother, no time to quit. A chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. It was the chant of a madman, Lord. Give me my only salvation. I say the chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. Maybe the chant of the madman, Lord, is the only salvation. I don't know. Oh Trinidad, oh Trinidad, oh Trinidad, Lord, Lord, Lord. Take it down. Anywhere you go, somebody chanting to we. Vote for we and we go set you free. Somebody promising natural law. Fly like a yogi, end all the war. Seek inner peace, end all the pain. The same woman promising to go down again. Somebody promising to run all the bread. Somebody pushing a world-class head. Somebody clean out the weed well fast. Somebody chopping down the weed well fast. But somebody letting the cocaine pass. 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 Somebody still letting the cocaine pass. Somebody letting the cocaine pass. Somebody promised to abolish the tax. Somebody promising to be with the facts. Somebody promising to clean up the land. But in the clean land, rat killing man with bright little youths going to waste. Somebody thief, the smile on their face. Somebody take one love off the shelf. Then the one of boys start to sell out themselves. Somebody going to end all this talk about race. But they can't tell me that with a straight face. Big men dying, the crime can't solve. A madman rant is my only resolve. I hear the madman ball as he lie on a wall. He said, this is it, this is it, this is it, I've been hit. But no time to give up, brother, no time to quit. A chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. It was the chant of a madman, Lord. Give me my only solution. I say the chant of a madman in this tale from a. The little red silk is not their true friend. The blue one have two extra note on the end. So a tag on the toe is now they take it to hell. But look where we reach, well, I hear a madman ball. As he spread out on a wall, he said, this is it, I've been hit. But no time to give up, brother, no time to quit. A chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. It was the chant of a madman, Lord, give me my only salvation. I say the chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. Maybe the chant of the madman, Lord, is the only salvation. I don't know. Oh, Trinidad, oh, Trinidad, oh, Trinidad, Lord, Lord, Lord. Take it down. Anywhere you go, somebody chanting to we. Vote for we and we go set you free. Somebody promising natural law. Fly like a yogi, end all the war. Seek inner peace, end all the pain. The same woman promising to go down again. Somebody promising to run all the bread. Somebody pushing a world-class head. Somebody clean out the weed well fast. Somebody chopping down the weed well fast. But somebody letting the cocaine pass. 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 Somebody still letting the cocaine pass. Somebody letting the cocaine pass. Somebody promised to abolish the tax. Somebody promising to give we the facts. Somebody promising to clean up the land. But in the clean land, rat killing man, we bright little youths going to waste. Somebody thief, the smile on their face. Somebody take one love off the shelf. Then the one of boys start to sell out themselves. Somebody going to end all this talk about race. But they can't tell me that with a straight face. Big men dying, the crime can't solve. A madman rant is my only resolve. I hear the madman ball as he lay on a wall. He said, this is it, I've been hit. But no time to give up, brother, no time to quit. A chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. It was the chant of a madman, Lord, give me my only solution. I say the chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. Maybe the chant of the madman, Lord, the only salvation. Good night, thank you very much.
David Michael Rudder. David Michael Rudder. The philosopher of Calypso. The chant of the madman. The chant of the madman is the only solution. The chant of the madman is the only solution. David Michael Rudder. Somebody making the cocaine pass, and they can't tell me that with a straight face. Somebody said they're going to end the talk about it.
Hey, David Rudder.
Let me hear you one more time out there for David Rudder. I like that song David Rudder sings. Somebody letting the cocaine pass. This damn thing passing and nobody know what's going on. In Trinidad, you know what they do? United States send down some helicopter and it's seeing weed. Yeah? It's seaweed. But it's the cocaine, I can't see that at all. They destroy all we marijuana, so we have no trees again. That is a high one, and partner, you smoke.
Somebody making the cocaine pass. Somebody making the cocaine pass. I love it.
Yeah. Let me hear you one more time out there for David Rudder. I like that song David Rudder sings. Somebody letting the cocaine pass. This damn thing passing and nobody know what's going on. In Trinidad, you know what they do? United States send down some helicopter and it's seeing weed. Yeah? It's seaweed. But it's the cocaine, I can't see that at all. They destroy all we marijuana, so we have no trees again. That is a high one, and partner, you smoke. I tell you, somebody letting the cocaine pass, you don't know who is the drug barons. A fella meet me, he said, Tommy Joseph, you know the drug barons? I say, yes. He said, who it is? I say, a cartel.
Only in the Caribbean. I love being Caribbean, I tell you. We can take politics and turn it into music seamlessly. David Michael Rudd, and of course, the MC is Tommy Joseph, one of the best in the business. GHK Lall is here, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. We are not going to keep you waiting for long. Just to welcome all of you. Please share the link. Politics 101 is on a Tuesday night. And to welcome all of you, those of you joining us from Walker, Golden Grove, Anns Grove, Buxton, Bartica. We have Bartica in the house. Those of you joining us from deep in the hinterland, I'd like to welcome all of you to the program tonight. Our special guest is GHK Lall, who is a regular of this program and who is a regular period in the media. London is in the house, Brother Nigel Price out of London, England, United Kingdom, Great Britain, when we were small boys and they give us, and small girls going to school, they give us, general knowledge. General knowledge. What is the difference between England and Great Britain, and the difference between Great Britain and the United Kingdom? You know when they're done with you. Of course, Mighty Sparrow said, London Bridge is falling. London Bridge is falling. 1979 classic. All the scandals coming out of the royal family. Sparrow said, London Bridge is falling down. Good evening to all of you who are joining us from that part of the world, in England, United Kingdom, Great Britain, Europe. Welcome to Politics 101. Of course, those of you in our wider Caribbean, whether you are joining us from Cuba, I understand a few people joining us from Cuba, or whether you're joining us from the Turks and Caicos, the British Virgin Islands, as they call them, overseas departments. St. Lucia, Barbados, Grenada and Carriacou, Petit Martinique, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Bequia and the Grenadines, and Union Island, and so forth. Welcome to Politics 101. Somebody asked me a general knowledge question the other day. So which prime minister got one seat and ended up being the prime minister? Well, what kind of formulation of that? Who was the person that got one seat and ended up being the prime minister of a Caribbean country? And of course, it's Son Michel, who went on to become prime minister in his own right later on. But he won a seat in Bekwai, and the two major parties were tied. And I think he ran as an independent, and he ended up negotiating with the Labour Party and was able to become prime minister. Son Michel in the St. Vincent on the Grenadines. Good evening to you if you're joining us from St. Vincent, or as we say, St. Vincent. Lots of people in Region 10, especially in the Linden area, are descendants of Vincentians. Lots of Vincentians came to work in the bauxite industry, and lots of Guyanese descended from Vincentians. And of course, St. Lucians up there in Madia. Madia is St. Lucia tongue. And lots of St. Lucians, lots of Madia people are now going back to St. Lucia to find their families because, St. Lucians came here in the mid 1900s, 1950s, 1940s, to look for gold, and they were mostly men, and they ended up here. Married, started new families, and so forth. Never went back to St. Lucia. And if you go to Madia, they still a lot of people are descended from St. Lucians. In those days, we used to pamposette, as you all know, and on the people call them Palawala. Palawala, we used to call them Palawala, derogatory name for people who come from the islands. We used to call them Islander, but Palawala when we want to show off on them. And so it was the irony of ironies when we started to go to the Palawala countries and they start playing big shot on me and putting you sit on a bench and all those kind of stories. The Caribbean story is a story that is what Barbadians, Bajans, God bless me, at the end of slavery in 1838, Barbadians came here to Guyana as indentured laborers. The indentured laborers weren't only Chinese and Portuguese and the East Indians. We had indentured laborers coming from Barbados, and we had indentured laborers coming from Africa, because slavery was ended, so they came as indentured laborers from Sierra Leone. A lot of them came from what is now Sierra Leone. But Bajans came to Guyana. My own surname, Hinds, is really Bajan. They trace my family roots back to Barbadia. And it's interesting, very interesting. People who are not Caribbean, and they many times when I ask, or people try to ask me where in the Caribbean I'm from, their first choice is never Guyana. They always they say, are you from Barbados? And that always beat me, because in my mind, we are so different in terms of accent, Guyanese and Barbadians, but to the air outside of the Caribbean, they always think that we Guyanese sound Bajan. They always say Barbados first, and then they may move to Trinidad and St. Kitts and so forth. St. Kitts is interesting. St. Kitts is, because we Guyanese, probably in terms of our accent and the words we use, we are more similar to St. Kitts. More similar to St. Kitts. All of them that the what we call the S word, the SK word in Guyana. In the rest of the Caribbean, from Jamaica to Trinidad, all of them, they say the C word. And the only two places that's put an S before the C cuss word is Guyana and St. Kitts. Guyana and St. Kitts. when you do the research, you found that Barbados, St. Kitts and Guyana were the sugar capitals of the Caribbean. The British had their big headquarters, so there used to be a lot of traffic, I think, palm boilers and cane cutters, and so going in between the islands, St. Kitts and so on. So you got to St. Kitts, St. Kitts and Guyana, they put on that S in front, and when you listen to the turn of the Caribbean accent, you see a lot of similarities between the Kittitians and the Guyanese. When I went to Antigua for the first time, and I went into the countryside, you thought you were in Jamaica. The rural Antiguans and the Jamaicans, very, very similar in their accent, very similar in their accent. And of course, you know, Trinidad and the Grenadians and so on, very close, because Grenadians are very much part of the Trinidadian landscape. In fact, the Trinidad is perhaps the most Caribbean of our countries. You go to Trinidad, and the average family in Trinidad could trace their family history, a lot of them, back to St. Vincent, St. Lucia, a lot to Grenada, Guyana, Barbados. Trinidad is I study Calypso, and I would swear half of the Calypsonians, when you go back, the mother from St. Kitts or the father from Grenada, a lot of them are from Grenada. I mean, everybody knows Sparrow was born in Grenada, right? When the Trinidadians get vexed in the 1960s, take down the pants and skinny BT on them. Gotta tell you, go back to Grenada. And I think one of the Calypsonians sing a song and say, Sparrow is past Trinidadians. He won't skinny BT on them in Grenada, but he's skinny BT on them in Trinidad. Our story in the Caribbean is a family story. It's a family story. You know, I was talking to my friend this morning who lived in the Turks and Caicos for a while, and we were reminiscing, and Turks and Caicos was part of Jamaica at one time. You know, they were part of Jamaica. You know, I love being Caribbean. Well, you all are ready. I think you all are ready. Somebody making the cocaine pass. The Madman Rant by David Michael Rudder. Of course, deep philosophy in that song, The Madman Rant. You know, when they want to cuss you in Guyana, say, David Hines rants and rave, you know? And Rudder throwing it back in the face and saying the rant, what is called the Madman Rant, the madman is probably the wisest man. Because, as we would say in Guyana, in your own madness, you get a good sense. So there's a really deep philosophy in using the madman and the madman rant to really tease out the complexities of the society, you know, and the madman, in a sense, you know, is a reflection of who we are. You know, we're all mad people. Somebody once said, we're all mad people because all of we believe in something that we can't see and we can't feel, whether we call it God or Allah. And I think that professor was saying, to believe in something that you can't feel and you see, you gotta be mad. And so, in a sense, madness is really not madness, right? Who said madness is gladness? I remember as a little boy, I heard them big man in the village saying, madness is gladness, you know? So there is a way in which Rudder takes the notion of madness and turns it upside down and says, what we are really calling mad is wisdom. Because the real mad people are the politicians who telling you at election time that they're going to change your life. And then Bob, they get into power. And the story, all of you all out there waiting for the cash grant. You all have vote to the PPP. But you all waiting for the cash grant. When they're going to share the cash grant, and Jack Dio said the term is a 5-year term. Who mad? The madman or Jack Dio? All right? Yeah. Jack Dio the other day, of course, when Asudin said, if they carry up to America, he's going to start singing like a canary. And Jack Dio said, oh, the people who actually got to be afraid of Asudin singing is people in Apnu. Now, Asudin saying he's going to sing pan Jack Dio. Jack Dio deflect it and said, well, it's other people. Who is the madman? And who is the saint? Who is the sane person or persons and who are really the madmen in the society? Very apt calypso by David Rudder, turning the logic of madness on its head and saying, you look in the wrong place for madness. My story is very simple. Asudin, no story because he was part of the story. Jack Dio anticipated that when Asudin start talking story, nonsense story, who been there? Asudin gonna say, me been there. Nonsense story. There once was a government called the PPP government. Nonsense story. I wanted to get rich and I went to them and I said, look at me, I look like you and my hair like you, nonsense story. And they said, all of we are one family. What you want? Nonsense story. I want to become a rich gold smuggler. Nonsense story. And they said, open the door and come in. And me going, nonsense story. And when they get elected, they asked me to present them with a bulletproof car. Nonsense story. Nancy Tori not a bad word. And you get me going tonight. Jack Dio know that Abba you go sing Panam and talk his story. So he tried to say, well, other people might be involved. And he told the police, investigate who were in charge of Jack Dio know everybody's story where you want the police to investigate. He asking the police, police, for investigate gold smuggling. Jack, you don't need police to tell you who's smuggling gold. Nancy Tori not get bad word. Teacher may say clap you. A Tori and Tori make a real ras there, as they would say. Excuse my language tonight before they came me before the ERC and said Dr. Hines said Nancy's story, a Tori and Tori make all of them ras there. Me gone. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. The fork is coming out in me tonight. But let me pull back and bring in GHK Lall. Mr. Gabriel, GHK Lall. Good evening.
Good evening to you and good evening, everyone.
I am sorry because I know you're a church man, but even Nancy, we don't sing but church, you know, we said from church to chapel, chapel to church, from church to chapel, chapel to church. So the church day Nancy story too. Right? So, you ever heard about Nancy's story, GHK?
Of course, man, we're wrong with you. I grew up in the village.
Nancy's story, not a bad word. Which village you grew up in?
Well, agriculture for a little bit in school, 2 years of school. Bagotstown, Peters Hall. Right? Get to, man.
Right. So you know the story. You know the story. GHK, you have been in the news in a different way. You're one of the most, if not the most prolific editorial writer, opinion writers in our media. I don't know how you do it. I remember years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, you wrote a column saying you don't know how David Hines did it. In those days, I used to write a lot and talk a lot and so on. and thing. And I now get a chance to say to you, I don't know how you do it. Sometimes I just get not writer's block, pen block. Because the thing that I made, when I put the pen on paper, instead of my pen nip start for fly, the thing, the pen will fly away from the paper. So it doesn't there. I don't know how you do it. Talk to me. How you manage to churn them out like that?
Well, I think, good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. We've got some tough issues to talk about, and I'm glad for the opportunity to share. You know, you get up and your head is clear, and you say, this here. And I have been blessed with that gift where I can take, I used to tell the children in school, I can take a word and make that into a phrase and into a sentence. And from there, I can go to 1,000 words. It's just something that comes to me because I can gather all these components from history and from our environment and from reality and fuse them together and say, here is a story. Here is something that I am sure will appeal to a wide cross section of Guyanese first. And anybody reading from the beyond the borders would say, there is something there. And you're going to hear as this program unfolds about how much beyond the borders that what we put out and we think that remains local, it doesn't remain local. It's bigger than Guyana. And so it's a lot, it has to do with my groundings and the different walks that I've had in this life. And I'm grateful for that. The people who have tutored me, the people who have held my hand, and I have had that blessing of teachers, old school teachers that have reared me the right way in the house, in the village. And, you know, I've lived the village, and I'm a product of that today. Not so much of universities and studies and travels, but the village, those core beliefs that we bring and put out here and we share here and say, I am not speaking for myself. I'm speaking for those people who went before, who Dr. Hines couldn't read and write, from different colors and different classes.
GHK, let's get straight to the first matter. I reference a press conference by Vice President, the Honorable Barra Jagdeo, who responding to a threat or a promise from Azzuddin Mohammed that he is going to sing like a canary, sought, if you will, to deflect the object of Azzuddin's intention to sing to other people. And he called your name among other names. When you first heard Mr. Jagdeo's statement, and it was quickly followed by a statement by one of his friends, I don't like to call some people name on this program, but people know who I'm talking about, who then called your name again and said, among other things, that in your capacity as chairman of the Gold Board, that you might have been involved in letting the gold pass from the Mohammed. Now, that's a very serious accusation. Tell us two-part question. One, what was your reaction when you first heard that? And second, tell us, as chairman of the Gold Board, what really was, as we would say in Ghana, what your job was as chairman of the Gold Board. So again, first, when you hear Jagdeo and critic with this thing, what went through your head? And then tell us, as Gold Board chair, what your job was.
Thank you again. When I heard the Honorable Vice President, somebody sent me the clip, that the police must investigate and the GRA customs must do this and that. And my name came up straight out of his lips. And I said, I am not surprised, because they have been trying for years to shut me up and shut me down. So I saw it as part of the deflection of the People's Progressive Party, the governing party, that wants to distance itself from the relationship that it has with the Mohammeds. We know about the charges, and those are as alleged from the United States. But the relationship of the Mohammeds with the People's Progressive Party, with Dr. David himself, with Dr. Ali, those are not as alleged. Those are real. Ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching this program, those relationships were real, they were expansive, and they were deep. Make no mistake about that. He can deflect, he can call my name, he can call APNU. At the end of the day, there were nobody, there were no other group of people that were as close to the PPP and its leadership. That's the first thing, and we'll come back to deal with that in depth in a minute. My role as chairman of the Gold Board, a non-executive chair, which I thought really started in March, but I was looking at the appointment letter from the ministry, and it's really April 18th, 2017, until February 29th, 2020. So my role there, my job, as Dr. Hinds said, was to oversee policy making, to lead a board of 7, including the leader of the mining union in Guyana, who is very closely affiliated with the ruling party today. I'll call name Mr. Andron Alfonso, the Alfonso family. He knew how I conducted the business there. He knew how I came down hard on him and said, as a director of this board, you will not be held to a lower standard or any old standard. You'll be held to a higher standard. And that was the kind of approach I brought there to the gold dealing community, to the one-ounce man, to the person exporting 5,000 ounces, 10,000 ounces, whenever they did. My job did not have any hands-on intervention with gold exportation. That was from the general manager down, and we had a very, very competent GM there by the name of Yondrine Thompson, one of the most honest people, Dr. Hinds, that I have ever met anywhere in the world. And she would not have allowed me to be near to any hanky-panky, and I would not have allowed the same thing with her. The job had nothing. I never been to a gold dealers or a gold customer location. Never had a conversation outside of the gold board with a dealer or a customer. Never met them. I don't mix very much. Never socialized with these guys. Any business they had to do had to be done in the gold board and with somebody else present. I heard that Dr. Jack, they would jump on that and say, the man not even trust himself. He got somebody. It's not that I don't trust myself. I come from an American background dealing with white people, especially white women. And so I don't trust what is going to happen in there. So I need a witness there with me. And I don't trust people in Guyana as much as I should, because these are unknown quantities to me and you don't know where anybody's coming from. My job was to say to push for the declarations to be up so we can earn the foreign exchange, so that the government, the organization can break even, pay off its debts, and put the government in a position to do more. At the time, gold was the major earner, 61% of foreign exchange in this country. There was no oil in 27, 18, 19. So let's get that context clear. My job was to provide leadership, to help beefing up the procedures, which had to do with anti-money laundering, which had to do with, had a heavy ethical component that we need to get the staff here, especially when we're dealing with a commodity like gold, to have clean hands and to approach this business that the people of Guyana, not that the PNC put in my hand, that the people of Guyana, through Minister Trotman, placed in my hands to represent them so that they get the best out of their natural resources. So when I heard Dr. Jagdeo and his friends sticking my name in this, I said this is part of a continuum to put me out of business, meaning I would be ashamed to show my face on these programs, meaning that I would not want to write as much or not at all, and to expose the nakedness of their corrupt activities, the People's Progressive Party's activities. Now, we have a saying in this country, Dr. Hines, and our audience. And at first I thought it was biblical, but only to discover that it was not. This too will pass. This too shall pass. Well, I got news for everybody listening here, and I got news for the PPP people who are listening here. I do not want this thing to pass. I, GHK Lall, want it to stay here so that the whole world has an idea of what my role was and who the real friends and partners of the Mohammed's family were and probably still are. Long before I went there, during my time and after my time. So I'll tell you something, Dr. Hines. Since I did that press conference, you will not believe the prestigious media houses that have reached out to me. Don't ask me how they got my contact. Reached out to me and said, we want to talk with you. In one of my writings, I said, Dr. Jagdeo, Mr. PPP, you do not know the can of worms that you have just opened. Well, if we got a different way, I can talk you language now, Dr. David. You don't know what ants nest you dig up here, right? You don't know what ants nest you dig up here, because I am not one of those people who is made up in the way that you roll over, you like don't roll over and dead and play dead. No, that got its own people. So I'm going to lapse in the Creole every now and again to just emphasize this point to my fellow Guyanese where there. You pick the wrong man, buddy, because here it is. You could rave and rant over there. I am not going to get into that mudslinging. I will let Dr. Hines and fellow Guyanese, here's what is happening here. This is not about GHK Lall anymore. This is not about Dr. Jagdeo. This is bigger than it. This is what kind of system of governance we have here. This is what kind of leadership we have here. This is what kind of policing we have here. This is what kind of respect for law and what kind of judiciary that we all will be put on trial, because I am not going to get into a tit for tat and cost for cost. I ain't make that way. You're going to win the one. But here's the bottom line. The facts will show that the PPP had a long relationship with gold smuggling. Would you like for me to go into some facts now, Dr. Hines?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
So, folks, here's this chronology. In November 2012, a boat called Summer Bliss, y'all remember that? In November 2012, a boat called Summer Bliss was seized in Curacao with 476 pounds of gold with connections, according to the Curacao authorities, to Guyana. The GGMC team was dispatched from here, and one of the recommendations, very strong recommendations from the Curacao authorities, was that there must be a real probe of the Guyanese origins of that 476 pounds of gold. If you remember well, folks, in 2012, who was in charge? Wasn't the PNC, wasn't GHK Lall, it was the PPP. Do I have that right, Dr. Hines?
Yes, you do.
Good. Nothing came out of that. Nothing was that investigation, if it ever got off the ground, promptly died of lack of oxygen. In 2016 January, the APNU coalition is now in power. The then Minister of Natural Resources, Raphael Trotman, went public. 15,000 ounces of gold are smuggled out of this country weekly. And it did not start now. It didn't start when we come in office. And this is from the FBI and the DHS, Department of Homeland Security. Highly sensitive information. It goes to people in the gold trade. No names, He didn't call any names, but it's a very small community. And the members of the community that can leverage their position, their influence, their power to do that kind of thing, engage in that level of gold smuggling, they've got to have powerful connections. We live in a very tight society here where everybody knows everybody's business. And so that was going on. In 2017, April, I went to the gold board, not March as I thought before. In 2018, December, we had a no confidence motion. And from then to March 2020, I'm gone by then, before March 2020, there is the run-up to elections. During the elections and immediately after the elections, you mentioned it, Dr. Hinds, the Mohammed's fact provided logistical and security support to the PPP. Now, you've got to be a hell of a trusted set of people. This is no allegations anymore. To be able to offer that kind of help and have it accepted by the People's Progressive Party. I couldn't do that. David Hinds can't do that. And other people of our ilk cannot do that. We'll be chased out of town. But the Mohammeds were that close. Now, in 2019, I'll take a step back. I was invited by the Bank of Guyana governor, Dr. Ganga. I'll call names. These are facts because the writings are there, and said, they're in bad shape. There were 2 senior officers from the Bank of Guyana there, and there was a general manager from the gold board with me. We got serious problem with gold smuggling in this country. I said, thank God, somebody finally talking me language. I said, you're going to have to escalate to the highest levels in this country because they've got some operations going to which I'm not privy. That was in September 2019. In May 2021, Dr. Bharat Jagdev said, there's no evidence of Venezuelan gold being smuggled into Guyana. Okay, now we are in 2023 in May, and who is a PPP local government candidate and end up being a victorious candidate? Mr. Nazar Mohammed. Bharat Jagdev had to sign off on that candidacy. Make no mistake about facts, facts, facts. In June 24, we have sanctions announced by OFAC with 3 persons, including somebody close, a permanent secretary in the PPP government. Sanctions. In October 2025, the beginning of this month, October 6th, only 2 persons are charged, 11 charges, father and son. Permanent Secretary Thomas disappears, and suddenly, and it went from 2019 to 2024 to 2017 when I got there to 2024. Am I saying that gold smuggling was not happening outside of the gold board when I was there? It was. I believe that it was. Do I know how it was happening? Absolutely not. I am not in that position where I was a privileged partner to these people. The PPP was and is. So, but they're trying to deflect this over to me. I want to know what bargain was made by the PPP for Ms. Thomas to drop off of that from the sanctions and those charges. I don't know that she dropped from the sanction, but she was not part of the charges. Meanwhile, the Mohammeds are getting quarry concessions, infrastructure contracts, and even to build a fire station was $210 million above the engineer's estimate. 2 more pieces of information before I hand back to Dr. Hinds. In March 2025, this year, 7 months ago, 9 months after the sanctions, Dr. Jagdev was asked in a press engagement, does the government still do business with the Mohammeds? And he said, no, we do not do any business with the Mohammeds. A week later, Nazar Mohammed presented 2 checks before the media, one for 20 million Guyana dollars and the other for 21 million, made to the PPP government, made to the PPP. One was in May 2024, a month before the sanctions, and the other one was in December 2024, 7 months after the sanctions. Now you tell me, the people are sanctioned, and you're still doing business with them? You're still taking their money? You're still taking their paisa, their moolah? What kind of relationship was that? What was that all about? I don't care whether it was a mistake or the people presented the checks and said, look, 20 and 21 million. Now, you may say we didn't know in May that the sanctions were on the way. Let me tell this to you, and Dr. Hines, you know this. For the US OFAC department to think about sanctions, it has to do local intelligence gathering. And I would think that it has to pass through either the Ministry of Home Affairs or the Attorney General Chambers, and then on to the Commissioner of Police and SOCU and whomever else. Therefore, I'm saying in May, 1 month before those sanctions, you still taking money from these people, and you now trying to shove GHK Lall in there and say in 2017 he been there, so he got to know. The nature of gold smuggling, folks, it is that it is happening at the airports and at the border, and the gold board is nowhere in sight, whether it's me or a clerk. This is happening nowhere with us in the vicinity. The gold board act says we must buy all the gold that is won in this country, and we were trying to up the declarations all the time. So here it is. This is happening outside a network that started before 2012 with that summer bliss business. I think it started in the mid to late 90s when the PPP was in power. And did it change when the PNC went into power? I don't think so. But many things have been said about David Granger, but one thing I could tell you is that, and some of them are right, is that he would not have condoned knowing that gold smuggling was there. Now, there was an operation called Nimble Mule that was initiated by him and led by a former brigadier general. And that was and there were others, part of the intelligence gathering to see who are the players that were behind this thing. Interestingly, Minister Trotman went in 2016 and said, people are in the gold trade are on the FBI radar. Who take money from these people, knowing that they're on the FBI radar? And now you come in and push, paint GHK Lall with your friends who you distancing from and disown and say is me friend. Does any of this make sense, folks? You have slandered me, you have defamed me. We'll take care of that in due course. But nothing in shaking out from you and falling down for me. This is not dandruff. I mean, I could look at everybody and say, my hands are clean. I've never done any business with the Mohammeds anywhere, or any other gold dealer or any other gold customer. And that is where I stand.
GHK Lall, quite a mouthful there. My. Good evening to all of you, and welcome to tonight's edition of Politics 101. GHK, you have called for the intervention of the FBI. Why did you ask the government to bring in the FBI?
And look at it. I think it's a valid point on my part, and I think it's a very good question on your part. The FBI is not a panacea, especially in its current state. It's not a universal remedy. But given the state of our own Guyana police force, with due respect to Commissioner Hicken, Deputy Commissioners Blanham, Crime Chief, and SOCU head, I think it's Deputy Commissioner Karimbach, with due respect to them, if you want a credible investigation, then let's bring in the FBI. Here is where I'm going with this. Dr. Hines, if we can't do an autopsy that is persuasive to us on an 11-year-old girl, we're going to be able to do something that is as nationally expansive as gold smuggling by ourselves. If we can't run the election afterwards, it's 60, 70 years, and we got to get all them white people coming from all over the place, and all them people from the region coming from the place, for helping with the election, and help Watchman we count votes, then it is, I think, a part of the continuum, an automatic step to say, well, let me bring in these people so that they could peep at the thing and say, you need to do this additional step. And by the way, the thing we're doing, That ain't looking like the right way to go about this, right? Here's this. The PPP has been on a witch hunt where I am concerned. Now it's looking for go up on a fishing expedition and it assemble it hunting party. Them who they on social media, who they in state media, who they inside, whatever media they on. The bottom line is this. Bottom line is this. Me story, me mouth don't change. I could look if I'm gonna put something before the public. And I put something before you, Dr. Hines. You know this country more than me. If Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, former president, vice president, the people and the People's Progressive Party in control of everything, had that I kick a dog on the road, you think I'll be talking to you, hey? And they'd throw the whole blasted book at me, right? So if I am anywhere near, not to gold smuggling, but to the smell of gold smuggling, you think I would have been around? I mean, they would have dashed the whole book and the candle and everything at me. And so this I see is a desperation move. We in know the Mohammed. We never got no friendship with them. Oh, them is GHK Lall friend. Them is the PNC friend. So I'm saying, considering this backdrop where there is this utter deception, this distortion, let me do the thing straight. Don't let me get a kangaroo operation. Let me get the FBI in here. We like to invite the OAS and the CARICOM and everybody. Let me get the FBI in here. Look, it's got to be the GPF alone, the Ghana police alone. I am not afraid of that, Dr. Hines, because here, what you're going to do, you're going to manufacture evidence, you're going to fabricate facts. Eh? I mean, anybody could go anywhere on social media and talk them out off. And I say they have freedom of speech, but don't go into that territory where you're slandering people, where you are defaming people. There must be a limit in this country, and there must be a cost to that. And so, hear me thing. If we're serious about going after gold smuggling, we got to go after the people who smuggling gold now. now that the Mohammeds fall out of grace, right? Do you think, Dr. Hines, and I should not be asking the question, that gold smuggling stop? You think it done? Gold smuggling still going on. You remember what Rudder said? Who let the cocaine pass? Well, I can take that. Who let the gold pass? And I can go further. They say it's Lall, but Lall don't go for talk all. And they ain't gonna like that neither, right? I gotta put that in a song.
GHK Lall, tonight we're talking about gold smuggling, which is now been front and center of our political process. One of the candidates, in fact, the person who's likely to become the leader or the opposition in Parliament, is being indicted by the United States. And he says, "It's not me alone, not me alone, not me alone, not me alone." Me alone a dance Congo. Me alone a dance Congo. And I say you're going to sing. He mightn't sing like how Mia sing it, because Mia sing Nancy sang and Kwekwe sang and spiritual sang. Nah, me alone, nah, me alone a dance Congo, me alone a dance Congo. And of course, we are thinking that he gonna sing for people who not in the opposition, who are on the government side. And as GHK said, they try to deflect by calling him, well, as we say, GFK said, well, I call you bluff. Bring the best. You bring the white man for watch election, well, bring the white man now. When it comes to the accusation of gold smuggling, but for some of us, we want this thing to go to its logical conclusion. The criminalization of the state, as Professor Clive Thomas formulated it, over a decade ago, which is the fusion, the merger of state institutions with criminality. And you can't want more evidence than the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs was fingered as facilitating this thing. That is what the United States said. The office people, the treasury, and so on. That's what they said. And Jack Dio is not talking about, he's talking about other people. I was telling somebody, if I run into Jack Dio, and he could say, David, man, it's politics, don't worry with it, and so on, And that's what Brother said. Brother said, all we politicians is lie. GHK, talking about security and so forth. On Sunday night, we had this bomb blast, killed a little child, 6 years old, and we seem to be always offering up children, as people would say. I think we've lost GHK there for a minute, but I'm sure he's going to come back. The offering up of children as sacrifice. Here's another child killed in a bomb blast, and they seized the car, they found the car, and then today the police said that they have apprehended this man. Lots of curiosity about that. The police said it's terrorism. If it's terrorism, what is the objective? Why someone who it is speculated is not a Guyanese national going to blow up a gas station? What is the linkage between that? How does that become terrorism? This is what we want to hear from the police. The man didn't go and try to blow up a police station. The last time they said a similar incident happened when they tried to blow up a police outpost. But this man didn't go to any big institution. He went to a gas station. So what we are interested in is why blow up a gas station? What is the linkage between blowing up a gas station and terrorism? This is what we want to hear. GHK is back with us.
Like them bunny want me talk no more.
They want you to talk more Nancy story tonight.
Who let the cocaine pass? Who let the gold pass?
In your absence, I was going over the recent bomb blast on Sunday night. And up to this afternoon, we learned that the person of interest has been captured. Others have been captured. A little child has lost her life. Another little child, this time 6 years old. We offer condolences, of course, to the family. Insofar as condolences can mean anything, we have to offer it, but it's very difficult for a child. GHK, the question I am asking, and a lot of people are asking, the police seems to be saying that they are convinced it's a terrorist act. Well, this person wanted and tried and did create a bomb blast at a gas station. How does that become terrorism? What is the objective? What is the linkage between blowing up a gas station and terrorism? Help us here.
Well, I mean, that's a difficult one to bridge, but I think it's part of the reaction here that the key here, Spanish speaking.
Yes.
Spanish looking, right?
Yes.
You know Spanish speaking yet? Spanish looking, Spanish appearing. And then we get a AI image and we say, that look like one of we. Then we get a clearer photograph and there's this jump. A bomb, clearly a bomb. At first I thought it was some sort of negligence, a cigarette, a lighter in a gas station. Then bomb floored me. The bomb, when it became a bomb, and I'm saying, how we arrive at terrorism right away? We barely know
Yeah, yeah.
who's involved. You know, this man walked there. Was he transported there? Was he alone? Who else was involved? Did he have Spanish? If it turns out that he's indeed Spanish speaking, the name is Spanish, no question about that. But did he have Guyanese aiders and abettors? Was this orchestrated as we see things orchestrated on social media, where people come out of the woodwork and lash out and terror and seek to terrorize their audiences and their objectives? So is this an extension of that? Why then do you want to keep the population distracted and in a state of anxiety, in a state of fear? Venezuela, US bill up, Venezuela while we think here. We don't really know that yet. Well, what we do know are some things. Why did the government come out and sort of put a clamp on the information flow around that time when we are talking about a bomb in a gas station? I'm struggling with this here. What did they know that they weren't sharing? Did they know anything? Did they know enough of anything to say that this is a case of terrorism? Is it domestic terrorism? Is it foreign-based terrorism? And so what was the objective here? To overwhelm Guyanese for whatever else that the government may have in mind? I don't know that. We hear Spanish speaking and we immediately think Caracas, right? Today I read in Damara Waves that the government has been buying spy equipment. To spy on who? To spy on who? Sindicato? To spy on the US Embassy? Clearly, they say criminals. Well, they make people like me and you into criminals. Demonization and criminalization. That's part of the criminal state. But the real criminals in this country walk scot-free. So we don't know yet that this man a lone ranger. What was his objective? What was his incentive? Who are the intellectual authors behind this? And why? Look at this, Dr. Hines. My original take, if this is foreign terrorism, this perp is gone. He gone back to where he come from. He ain't gonna hang around, so you catching him lying around, hanging around, was it Virginugen? Something in right with this terrorism picture. The Venezuelans have enough, the foreigners have enough assets here, moles, plants, that they could take that human asset and get it out of here. So that becomes a cold case or it runs into a wall. So for him to be found, right? For him to be still around and people call and say, hey, I'm on the wrong here. That is not jiving with my understanding of how these things work here. I think we have to wait a little bit more to see how this is going to unfold and what kind of narrative we're going to get here. At least I think I have to.
I completely agree with you. I've been keeping my ear open all day today, all day yesterday, and clearly, among the masses, people are understandably stereotyping Venezuelans and Spanish people and so on, and it raises the question of our immigration policy. It raises the question of our security apparatus. Is it geared towards anticipating terrorism and putting things in place to deal with that? Or is our security apparatus more concerned with spying on political opponents of the government and so on? There are lots of questions that are being raised here that answers are not forthcoming. And I agree with you. Let us wait and see. Is this does this thing have some foreign connection? And so, what is the foreign connection? These are all questions the police and those who are investigating the matter. I'm waiting to hear Mr. Jagdio, who is one of the chief investigators here in our country, you know, um, because he knows who's guilty of all kinds of story. I'm waiting to see what he knows about this case.
Well, excuse me,
Go
before you
right
move on,
ahead.
he can deflect the well, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Minister of Home Affairs and the Commissioner of Police. You know, they have they're in the middle of the thing and they've got up to their elbows, and I'm sure that they will give a competent representation of themselves. Now, let's pause for a moment here, folks. Domestic terrorism, foreign terrorism, Lone Ranger, whatever. It goes to show again, Dr. Hines, how open and porous our society is and how vulnerable it is. Imagine if that pump attendant, I think it's a female pump attendant, I think that woman has to get a medal and she got to get $1 million. They must they must hail her and salute her. And that man who go and pull out them picnic from the place of danger. When this let this settle down, let me get investigation and all them thing behind me. Because imagine if that man had placed that thing in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't got the black for talk about no more. I know some people from the church who live as far as Hatfield Street, past thing they tell me their house shake. And they ain't got no reason for makeup that they say their pressure gone low and this and serious stuff. So the again I heard Miss Walton Desir say, and I salute her, that national security reform, national unity. Now here's my take on this before we move on. We mustn't only talk about national, the government must lead the way in talking about national unity by living it. By living it, not when we go into a pseudo crisis or a real crisis. We've got a real threat hanging over our heads here from across the border, but we've got a real threat in our governments that take people like you and me and the few others in this society and put us into a place of isolation, demonization, and criminalization. We got enough when we hand with aisle management, with corruption management, with police management, with environmental management and border management, than to be so obsessed, ladies and gentlemen, with some commentators who are trying to sift through the developments and facts of our times and share them and said, this is what I think, and because this is how I see it. What is so offensive about that? What is so anti-Guyana or anti-PPP about that? This is pro-Guyana. This is about our own vision of what the Guyana that we can be. But yet we are targeted and vilified and reviled for these things. You got bigger things on your hand that need all of us, that need Dr. Hines and me and all the doctors and lawyers going to come on this program here and all the other programs to say, you know what? We back in covered and we got to look out for each other back. And when we attack one another and look for bring each other one down, then we open ourselves to further exploitation and devastation.
Exploitation and devastation. And talking about devastation, we got this bizarre news a few days ago where there was an altercation, it seems, between a policeman and a phone vendor. Phone vendor takes out his gun, shoots the policeman to death, but the story doesn't end there. The policeman, I understand, the phone vendor, I understand, has been charged with manslaughter and put out on a $1 million bail. I hold my head and ball because if that were you, if it were me, we ain't getting no bail, we ain't getting no manslaughter charge. That's one. If, for obvious reasons, if it were any of the 700 and other people who are part of this population, if any one of them, they ain't getting no bail. GHK, it's painful, but the tragedy of this story is twofold. One, and I'm, as the lawyers would say in the old days, I'm putting it to you, that the tragedy is twofold. On the one hand, somebody has lost his life in a situation where cooler heads could have come into play. Somebody father, somebody son, somebody uncle, somebody grand picnic, gone, life gone. So that's part of the tragedy. But the second part of the tragedy is the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you say murder, you know you get in remand.
Mm-hmm.
No bail for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the two tragedies. I'm putting it to you. Am I wrong? And if you don't think that I'm wrong, talk to us. Talk to us because you're the commentator.
How can you be wrong? How can I, given the line I have walked for 26 years as a public commentator, and incidentally, I started in the Chronicle. I started writing letters from the United States in the Guyana Chronicle.
There
Who
you
you
go.
name Sharif Khan?
Sharif Khan, yes. Way
Sharif
back.
Khan. Yes, who was bold enough to carry. And then some people say, is who you giving the man space for? And then they went down. So now we come to Breed and Hoop. When you're not wrong. And you're not wrong to be pained. When I see the thing, I hold my head. I didn't actually bawl, but I hold my head and I say, no man, this can't be right. No, this can't be happening. No, this is not the Guyana that should be. That a man kill a man for a cell phone, not a cell phone, some disagreement over what is it, price or something. Pull out your gun and the system falls into place. The system falls into place. Murder becomes manslaughter without a second thought, without files going back and forth and the carousel that we know between the police and it just come blam manslaughter. And then injury, insult upon insult, and insult to injury, bail. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. You something gotta be wrong with me. That I am sitting down here and us that we are sitting down there and taking this kind of thing, this kind of development passively. So you add a tragedy. Life is that cheap here. Is the justice system so weak, so subject to manipulation, so subject to undue influence? And I've got to answer in the affirmative because we have seen this before. When it involves a certain kind of people, usually they look like me. And when they have a certain affiliation, which I don't have and will not have. Remember a man that shoot his girlfriend or something in the interior, some kind of counselor in his belly, and then he get charged. And then the next thing you know, the whole story gone. And we have had a number of stories like that, where nothing is seen, or what is seen suddenly becomes nobody, not with it. Everybody withdraw. What is going to happen in this story with a policeman killed? What happened to the cops, the honest cops, the professional cops, who are usually outraged when one of their colleagues are gunned down in circumstances like this? Mind you, it was not in the line of duty. It was a personal setup. It was so let's get that straight. But I would expect that there would be some sort of unease by social media. Seems to be where are the policemen on social media? Where's somebody saying this thing wrong? This, let's let the system work itself through. Let the man go. Let the lawyers and the prosecutors go back and forth and put themselves at the mercy of the courts and say, my client is asking for leniency due to ABC and circumstances and what surrounding circumstances that are mitigating. Instead of that, before you could get to 3, bail. I'm like, what kind of setup is this? Do you see why I want the FBI here?
Yes.
What,
Yes.
hell, what kind of setup is this? If this is how things can be tweaked, things can be maneuvered and manipulated, then what else is not possible? Look, where is the justice in this country? Where is the justice in this country? And you know what? I'll tell you from now. Today is what? October 28th. A killing, a bailing, and there'll be a freeing. Maybe a slapping on the wrist. Yeah. Don't you see that writing on the wall, man?
Yes, the logic takes you there.
You don't have to be Daniel or Belshazzar or whatever your name, right? The writing is on the wall.
Yeah.
We are going to fix this because we got a power to fix it.
Yeah.
We're going to take care of this because it's one of we own. Yeah. Right? And that's justice. Yes. That's respect for the rule of law.
Yes. GHK, you and I are of that generation that had to read a little bit of Shakespeare, and so we would know about comic tragedy and so on. I'm not too sure whether that concept is being taught in school these days. But we had this situation where for 8 years, Chancellor of the Judiciary was acting not regularized. A Chief Justice acting not regularized. The leader of the opposition wrote to the president and said, look, I want to regularize these 2 ladies. The government, by its reaction, said no. And then one of the ladies, the acting chancellor, goes on leave and she comes back. And the acting Chief Justice refuses to vacate and to go back to the status quo. The lady, Justice Cummins, hurriedly, she came back to work. So obviously she didn't come back to work and she went into her chambers with the intention of going on early pre-retirement leave. But within hours, pre-retirement, a Ghana leave, a done, I ain't able with this story. The president then writes to the opposition leader and said, I'm ready now to regularize. What in God's name is going on in our country? I mean, you can't get more open, brother, than that. The thing is not even hiding, There's not any pretense. Just open, brother. The WPA said yesterday that it's political gangsterism at its worst, and we urge Mr. Norton not to dirty his hands by giving his assent to that. When you wanted these ladies to be regularized, they said no. One of the ladies said, well, I'm gonna retire. As soon as you retire, you're ready to regularize. Does it not say that is the lady you wanted to get out of the way before you regularize? Talk to me, my brother.
Well, there are 2 words that come to mind immediately, and it harks back to the murder of the cop that is now manslaughter and the $1 million bail. Mm-hmm. There is this unholy haste. In both instances, that shooting, that fatal shooting, and this dispatching of the then acting, now gone, Chancellor of the Judiciary, Madam Edward Cummings. You go on leave. You're in an acting position. When you come back, you gone out of the position. I mean, how does that happen? You ain't give up nothing. You don't give up rights. You don't give up seniority. But I'm looking at how we talk about rule of law and the respect for law and standards. And yes, There is the president. There is the president having converse. Where we had this ugly part, most likely uncomfortable part, where who was it? The chief justice went to her office, and somebody and the acting man refused, and the acting chief justice refused to vacate his office. So she had to work in a conference room for that day. I mean, we are subjecting senior officers of the most senior officers in our judicial system to that kind of indignity. Now let's go back to Justice Cummings Edwards. She's been waiting 8 years. She is the problem, according to the PPP, except that it won't come out and say it. And the president has a meeting with her, which I think was not appropriate. And he makes her an offer that I read that she thinks best not to refuse. She thinks that it is best not to refuse. And look, I had enough of this. I can go my way. And by the way, most likely because money is no object in this country for the government, it controls the purse strings. It made the offer sweet, right? In other words, look, we gonna make it so you don't lose nothing. We gonna make it however that is, however that's gonna work out. And there are ways to work these things out. Yes, it's public service and judicial service and all of that. But just go your way, and it not only was she the problem, but now you put Aubrey Norton in a bind because they're waiting for you. If he said yes, he lose. If he said no, he lose because you're blocking a black woman from getting conformed. Now, my sources are telling me that, listen, the opposition, Mr. Norton, is not going to go down that road because if he go down of the road of agreeing to that invitation from that written invitation from the president, he will never outlive that one. Now, I want to go somewhere else. Why is it National Natural Resources Fund, the Isle Fund money, and things of this nature, the PPP, when it wants to get these things, after dilly-dallying, dragging its feet, suddenly gets this spurt of energy, and immediately, look within which time, within hours, the president writes Mr. Norton, we need we reach a place where we need your agreement now. We're ready for talk. We're ready for deal with it. This is a travesty of procedure, travesty of standards. And the president knows it, and the People's Progressive Party knows it, but they just don't care. We in charge, we got the power, and we can do as we see please, what is pleasing and beneficial to our interests. And we are seeing this again. Now, I think the Mr. Norton may turn up and say, well, why it got to be that candidate for the Chief Justice? If you want, as a balancing feature, a member of that demographic, you got people in the Court of Appeals waiting, right? You got people in the Court of Appeals waiting who I may be open to considering, right? After consultation with my team and blah, blah, blah. But the whole process, the whole way this thing goes about is gone about, it just reeks of arrogance. It just reeks of an overwhelming degree of arrogance, is that we now ready for do business and we gonna get it done regardless of what you say or do. And you go through the formalities of, yes, the president has written the opposition, and to bring this stalemate, this impasse to an end. I think that Mr. Aubrey Norton, has one choice. No. Mine going down the road.
No. My party, the Working People's Alliance, has said that very, very clearly, and I endorse that position. GHK, we started with the gold smuggling and Mr. Jack Dio's threat of letting loose the police on suspected enablers of gold smuggling. And I know we transition from that point to other points which we discussed. Is there anything you want to close out with that you wanted to say on that issue?
Well, gold smuggling has been around. It is still around. The People's Progressive Party, due to its relationship with gold smugglers, is part of the enabling and facilitating group. Investigations start there. Are we going to get that? No, I think this is all a sham. Oh, let the police investigate and the GRA Customs investigate. How the GRA Customs going to investigate its own self? What kind of thing you going to get there? But that's not my business. Here's my business. You want to get after gold smuggling. Do not go to these desperate lengths where you even get a black man who I did beat up one time for come out and lash out at people like me. I mean, come on. You're so desperate, you're so bad one time with trying to stick the gold smuggling thing for me that you got to get a black man for do the dirty work. Eh? What kind of thing is this? Is this how we all talk about one Guyana and degrade a section of the demographic? Get them for do them nasty, ugly work that your own people want to do? Here's this. Bring out your police. This is a test of the police. This is a test of what we have here. I want to close this out to the audience. I have never met, never spoken to, never had any dealings with Mr. Azruddin Mohammed. Never. I know what he looked like from the thing. His father, never met him outside of the gold board during those years. One time the man even called me, right? He gave me a number from the gold board and called me a couple of years after I left because I had spoken to a foreign journalist and he said, man, you make me look in a good light there. I say here, you hear you name call? I do not know that you are talking, but I'm saying that the gold dealing community has got a problem with different things that the people watching, right? And they have a right to watch because he in watching. Now, you tell me, look, with due respect to the Mohammeds and their political ambitions and their commercial success and how they get it, other people want me to go up on their programs. I don't want to go there. I don't go there. I got to have some kind of relationship with you, some kind of regard for you before I could deal with you. Simple as that. Simple as that. I am appalled that Mr. Jagdeo, Dr. Jagdeo, could suddenly take himself and the party out of this. The people who give them all the money, they used to boast. We give them hundreds of millions of dollars and suddenly take me and stick me in there and say, hey, is you help the man there? Is IEDs help the people like you help the man there? As Rudder said, who let the cocaine pass? I say, who let the gold pass? And Jagdeo know. Ali know. These are who let the Lamborghini pass? Me? And if you can get a Lamborghini for pass for that amount of money, and when the man bring out text that alleged who was involved, you see me named there? And if I can do that for a Lamborghini, what I can do for gold? Lamborghini there in the open, gold there in secret. The logic is irrefutable, folks. And with that, I say good night.
Good night to you, and thank you very much, GHK Lall. As usual, we so appreciate you coming on. Tonight's program was a special program because we dealt with so many issues, sensitive issues, and we shall see. We shall see. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you.
And I just want to end by saying, in this old story with Justice Cummings, there is past Justice Cummings. There is past Justice George. And there is past Aubrey Norton. But you know what? Some of us enable them to take the eyes to pass us. You see, in politics, sometimes you have to go not just to the text, but to the subtext. The PPP has always thrived on this thing that we win an election and, we have the mandate and so on. I do not recognize the PPP as a legitimate government. A legal government, yes, because they have been declared the winner legally. But in terms of legitimacy, that is their right to govern. Their right to govern. I withhold that legitimacy from the PPP. Because I think when we legitimize a regime like this, we are legitimizing irregularity. Never in the history has a government behaved in that way. Behaved in that way. Just shove the lady out. She fought from coconut tree? No. But you treat she as though she fought from coconut tree. You're manipulating the other justice lady because you didn't want to regularize her for 8 years because you got a problem with the other lady. You got a problem with Cummins. So you said, Judge, I ain't regularizing you. No, you shove Cummins out. You said, Judge, I'm ready for it. But what is what? You're manipulating George. It's political gangsterism. And then you don't want to, Aubrey Norton, to put the signature to your scheme. And your eyes pass, Aubrey. And sisters and brothers, I've been saying it on this program. They don't want me to say it. I'm going to continue to say it. This government, I pass black people, and they've made it into statecraft. Now, I don't care if Jack Dio is a person, or any Ali, or whoever, Nandla. I don't care whether in the individual capacity they don't like black people. That's a business, that's a personal business. You have a right to like and to dislike. But when you take that dislike into the halls of power with you, you have now moved prejudice. Because you don't like black people, you prejudice against them. And then, that don't bother me too much. But you have now moved prejudice into power. You will now have the power to make your prejudice policy and governance. And that's racism. That's racism. And these people, their government is racist to black people. And they thrive on manipulating ordinary black people and manipulating even elite black people. And as a black man, I can't sit here and sugarcoat that and put it in any nice language. I'm appalled. And I shall continue to say it. I don't care who say that who should talk to me and who should condemn me. Condemn me. Clang the illiterate iron door. If freedom writes no happier alphabet, says Martin Carter. I don't care. I will continue to say it. They are reducing black people in this country to nothing. You manipulate the social condition of poor black people and poor brown people and poor Amerindian people, yes, but you do it in the most galling way to black people. Gromdov, as they would say in Creole parlance, Justice Commissioner Gromdov, she eagle. Even a black eagle, you're taking your eyes and pass. Black people, I'm saying to you all in this country, stop making yourselves fools. Stop being party to making yourself fool for a few pieces of silver. Every day, you all get into this nonsense of the individual getting a few pennies. You all are throwing away the future of your race. You all are condemning yourselves to another round of slavery. You all better get up. If they can do that to Justice Cummins, if they can do it to Justice George, What the hell are they not going to do to the ordinary black man, woman, and child? And this is not just about how you vote. It's after all you vote and the nonsense that some of you are still carrying on with and not seeing what is being done to you all as a race. They didn't enslave you all as individuals, you know. They enslave us, our foreparents, as a race. And you all sit up in there and know that you all are being used and abused. And just for a few pennies. Justice Cummings is going to be all right. She's going to be all right, but black people are not going to be all right. Good night. Good night. You all better get sense. You all better get sense. Tired of the nonsense. Tomorrow night, Dr. Henry Jeffrey is going to be here. And we're going to continue this conversation.